Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one is called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. What do I mean by that? Everything in this world of appearances is insignificant. Everything here is insignificant, and yet you made something important of it. And that's why there's so much suffering, fear, and so on. What makes it significant is the way the mind interprets the situation. And the mind always interprets the situation for one reason only: to perpetuate the belief in separation, to make believe that I am something or someone separate from everything else. So, what we're doing here is we're learning to notice how, when we identified with the thoughts, we experience the consequence of that identification. In the world of appearances, all sorts of things will appear. There'll be seeming challenges that may take the form of financial issues or health issues, relationship issues, and all kinds of stuff that seems to be happening in the world. But the only thing that is keeping us away from the peace, which is what we are, which is what we rest all the time, which is our essence, the nature of our being, is the mind's translation of every one of those events. I am not saying that we'll not experience pain anymore, or pleasure will not be experienced, which, by the way, that's what the human being is always doing, trying to seek pleasure and avoid pain. And the way it does so is that it takes the experiences, interprets them, and according to its interpretation says, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. But all of that is just to make sure that I still believe that I'm a separate self, and the avoidance of pain is the fear of death, and the seeking pleasure is the wanting to continue the game going on until the game becomes so unbearable that we want now out of it, right? That's why there's a line in A Course in Miracles that says, tolerance for pain may be high, but it's not without limit. Sooner or later comes the time when we begin to question or ask that there must be a better way. See? It's because the experience, the human experience, being an experience of limitation, of lack, and of course of pain, eventually is going to begin to has to be questioned, and then we want to start asking for what is really what is true, what is the real happiness, the real peace that we thought we're going to find as a consequence of chasing whatever it is that the mind says. If you get this, you'll be happy. If you find this, you'll be happy. If you become this, you'll be happy. But none of that works. There's another line in the Course in Miracles that I love, where it says, if you want to be like me, meaning if you want to know truth, if you want to be happy, if you want to be free, you see, if you want to be like me, I will teach you, knowing that you and I are alike. If you want to be different, if you'd rather be different, if you want to still believe in you're this separate entity with all its different things that you think you have to chase to be happy, whatever the case may be, if you still want to play that game, you want to be different, I will wait until you change your mind, you see, because the experience of limitation will never lead to wholeness. The experience of limitation will continue to perpetuate the belief in limitation, and what you are is whole, it's complete. It's not this separate little thing in this tiny body, separate from the whole world, and now chasing all sorts of things to somehow complete itself. So these videos are a reminder of that. That's it. There's nothing else. This is not about chasing things or becoming something different or so. This is about recognizing the nature of what we are, and the way we do so is by not believing the content of the mind. That's it. You see? The mind cannot solve the problem which he has already created. Like Albert Einstein used to say, you cannot solve a problem with the same mind that created. And yet we're going to the mind to try to solve the problem, you see? And that's why Ramana Maharshi says going to the mind to try to solve the mind or dissolve the mind or undo it is like asking the thief to become the police officer. It will follow you for the rest of your life. So what are we doing here? Well, actually we're doing nothing, but for the sake of, language, what we're quote unquote doing here is remembering the nature of our being, not as another thought that says this is what I am, but as a recognition of the ever-present beingness in which we rest by the nature of who we are. Let's put it to the test to see that this is not esoteric, this is not something what's it called, far out in the future, is right now, right this moment, okay? Right this moment. Don't identify with any thoughts. I didn't say the thoughts will not be there. They appear. That's the way it is. But the investigation here is notice that while thoughts appear, you are. In other words, right now, I am, and that's it. This is ever-present, non-conceptual beingness, whatever you want to call it. Forget about the names anyway. That's still mind stuff. Just being, you see. And then within beingness, which is what I am, thoughts appear. See, that's the small stuff. Thoughts appear. The mind translates them. That's what it takes. That's what it means by taking the small stuff and making it a big thing. That's the sweating. See? But thoughts do appear, and that's fine. Let them be. Begin to question, where do they come from? Who thinks them? These are valid questions because you can never find the thinker of the thought. Yeah, the thought can be perceived, but where does it come from? They appear, you see. You're not in control of them. What happens is when the mind sees the thought coming up, now it tries to avoid it and it says, I can control it. I'm going to try to think positive. But you know what? The opposite of that one is going to sneak up again because that is the nature of duality. The issue here is not trying to be positive. It's not trying to control the thoughts. It's being able to look at them. See, looking at them, there's no problem. Judging them, that's the mind's interpretation. So notice how thoughts appear and disappear. Now there's a little detail here that is overlooked always when we say things like this. That you still think that I'm talking to you as a person and you think that you, the person, is the one who's noticing them. No, you also are a thought in all there is. You see? I think there's a line in the Course in Miracles. I know that there is. I'm just trying to see exactly how it words. That it says, you are a thought in that which supposedly thinks all of this. I will put the quote right here so you can see. So the point is that I'm not talking to you. These are words that are being said, they're pointing to the nature of what you are, which is right now. It's what is. So right now, if you don't identify with any thoughts, I can even ask you, who are you? Without any thought, you simply are. But the mind cannot trap this. This is not for the mind. I'm not trying to give you an exercise for you to put it into practice so the mind can comprehend anything. I'm pointing to the obviousness of what is. Right now, you cannot negate the fact that you're conscious, that you are. You cannot negate that. That is always. It's when the mind gets in the way with its interpretation. I am this, I am that, I am this individual, this is good, this is bad, this should be like this should not be like that. All of that is thinking, and that's what I refer to as the small stuff, and we're sweating it because we're believing it. And this message is terrified for the thought system of ego, which is the sense of separation, because it's the undoing of that. And we don't want to undo our sense of separation. We want a sense of separation more comfortable. And if that is what you're looking for, then these videos are not for you. Because these videos are not to keep reinforcing the belief in separation. These videos are by reminding you that you are, and that amness that we're pointing to is the peace that passes all understanding, is the happiness that never changes. Happiness is not pleasure. It's not you're laughing all the time. It's the space in which you kindly and surrender. you're open to what is. And then life comes up, thoughts come up, circumstances come up, sensations come up. All that stuff seems to pass by, but none of that can move you because you're resting in what you are. That's the beingness these videos are pointing to. You see? And once again, let's put it to the test. This is not esoteric. Right now, right this moment, if you simply open yourself to what is, just right now, don't identify with any thoughts. Just don't believe them. That's all. Just let them be. Let them talk all it wants. Let them say all it wants. Just right now, be for a moment, just for this moment. Even in the midst of whatever you're experiencing. If you're going through challenging situations, I understand that. And again, my heart goes to you. But I'm inviting you. I'm pointing to something right now so you can have the direct experience, so you can see that these videos are not esoteric and are not, you can see the practicality of them. And right now, whatever you may be going through, if you were dealing with a very heavy physical pain that is drawing your attention and maybe you need to take a pill or something, that's fine, I understand. But right now, I'm asking you, especially with suffering is what we're dealing here, right? With suffering, because it's just identification with the mind. I'm asking you to right now just be. And notice the investigation. See if you can find, okay? See if you can find or notice that the cause of the suffering is a thought. You see? That, it's immediate. Without the thought, yeah, the pain could be there if it's a physical pain, but there's no suffering. Without the thought, your situation does not have to change, but you can experience a peace that is beyond the situation, that passes all understanding. You see? When you identify, or I should say not identified, if you just be in that beingness, when you're not identified with the mind's interpretation, you have access to what we're pointing to here. Do you see? Just be. If I ask you who are you and you're not identified with the thought, you cannot answer. You simply are. That's the investigation. And you will have, you are having right now the direct experience. You cannot negate that if you're not identified with the thoughts, with the interpretation, with the mind's translation of anything, if you're not identified with any of that, you're resting in the peace that passes all understanding. You see? Now, once that is seen, doesn't mean you're not going to function in the world. You will still function the same meaning that you will know how to act, whenever it's supposed to. You will know how to turn the television if you have to. You know how to go to your car and make it run and drive it. You'll know how to get to work. You'll know how to perform your job. All that stuff will be done the same. The difference is that you're resting in a space in which you see how life is doing it all. You see, you're no longer letting the mind, the small stuff, takes charge. You're no longer reacting to the mind, and you're seeing how the mind is a very functional apparatus, if you want to use that word, to function in this world, but not as your teacher. You see, the mind is not teaching you anything. The mind is simply used for execution, not killing. I'm talking about, execute the task at hand. You see, if I need to make a move, have to go somewhere, the mind will be used to let me know, how to stand up, go from here to there, how to do the mechanicals or the things that needs to be done in order for me to get there. That's fine. But that action can take place without the narrative of fear and the stuff that the mind can also conjure up with. You see? If somebody gives you a news, whatever the case may be, hey, look, this, I don't know, for example, there's going to be supposedly a change in the economics of the world, or whatever the case may be. First of all, you know that you're resting in beingness, so that doesn't affect you. However, it doesn't mean you're denying your human experience. You're noticing how, okay, if there's going to be changes in the economic things, you may find yourself, hey, I can buy a property over here, whatever. You may see how this information comes through you as possibilities on how to deal with that, or maybe you start spending less for a while, or I don't know. But all of that is done. You see, the mind is used to execute all these actions, but there's no the narrative behind that says, oh my God, we're gonna die, what's gonna happen, and if I don't have any money, then I'm gonna be on the streets, and then my family's gonna starve. You see, all that stuff is narrative that is added upon to a simple news. The news is, look, the economy is changing, and there's some things that may be difficult, so you may want to be conscious of that. So the news comes up, and then you take the appropriate action. But again, there's no narrative. You don't even let the mind try to get in the way thinking what could happen, because we don't know. All you know is you're dealing with what is. And what is, without the interpretation of the mind, is just what is. And you see how life through you inspires you to take the appropriate action if necessary to deal with the situation. See? But you do it in peace. You see? The situation no longer overwhelms you nor overtakes you. You see? Simply, it's another scene within the movie that you now have seen through the construct of the mind. See, when you don't believe the movie, there's no problem. If you put 3D glasses and you're watching a movie and you forget it's a movie, you react. But if you know beyond the shadow of a doubt that it's a movie, then you don't find yourself distracted by it, even if you're watching the same movie. You see? Well, right now, within the world of illusion, the seeming collective, everybody's watching the same movie, but some people seem to be reacting to it differently. Not because of what's happening in the movie, but because how they are relating to the content of the mind. The ones who believe the content of the mind are sweating the small stuff. The ones who doesn't believe the content of the mind knows that everything is small stuff and cannot have an effect on who I am. And that is what these videos are pointing to. Always to the same thing. I am, you see. And that's it. End of story. Okay, well, this is the inspiration that came through this instrument. I hope it served. And as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can be extended.